Hey guys, this is Bia and welcome to another episode of the Audience of One podcast. Today I'm here with Amy and Taylor. And they're both on the soccer team here at the Cumberlands. Amy's from Cincinnati and Taylor's from California. And how long have you guys been playing soccer?
I started playing when I was 3 and I'm
Dang.
22 now, so
Yeah,
a
It's
long
been a
time.
hot minute.
about the same. Probably like a little older, like 4 or 5. Yeah.
I feel like soccer and like tennis as well, I feel like, because I've played tennis, right? It's a sport like you start and you play your whole life.
Right.
Like the same sport. And people usually start when they're like 3, 5, like very young.
Right. Yeah, soccer's definitely one, and I feel like even people that don't play soccer, like as when they're older, they played soccer at one point in their life. Like I feel
Yeah.
like because it's such like a universal sport. At that
It really
age.
is.
Yeah.
It's not as strong here in America, but like in general, like for girls here in America, it's like bigger,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? Than like
Yeah.
other sports. And have you played any other sports before?
I like basketball, softball. I like tried everything for a little
Mhm.
bit, and then just kind of stuck to soccer.
Was it mainly like in high school, like before?
No, before like
Mm,
middle
that's
school, elementary school. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I did basketball, softball, and I also danced before
What dance?
quitting it all.
Oh,
Yeah.
what dance did you do?
I did ballet, tap, and jazz.
All the stuff.
Yeah,
the three
It's cool. I love
basics.
dancing.
But I
Amy's
stopped
like-
doing that like in middle school. So
I feel like ballet. I don't know about here, but like in Brazil, ballet's like all the little girls they do ballet,
Yeah.
and like or like karate or some like
Mhm.
martial arts,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know how it is about here, but like Brazil, that's usually how it works.
Yeah, it's kind of the same here. I did dance too for a little
Yeah?
bit at one point. Yeah.
What dance you do?
Hip hop.
Oh, that's cool. I could see that.
Yeah,
For
it's
real.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that both of you have started your relationship with Christ like more deeply, I would say, or like more seriously, but like kind of like at the same time. I feel like both of you, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was like for you? Like obviously it's separate stories because you guys didn't even know each other at that time. I feel like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but how did it click for you? Like yeah, like this is what I want to pursue like for my life.
So like for me, I grew up in like a very religious Christian household where like, you know, I went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesdays, and like Saturdays they had like outings and stuff that I usually go to. So like the concept of God was like not new to me and like I knew of it, but it was more of like a school type thing where like you learn and you know the information, but I didn't have like an actual relationship with God. And then I came here and it was like I started getting involved in the church again because I felt like that's what I'm supposed to do, and so I was doing it out of this is routine for me, not like I have a good relationship with God, I want to know more about him. And then I feel like a big reason why me and Taylor's like relationship with God grew like around the same time is because me and Taylor both tore our ACLs the same month of the same year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so and then like
I
for
didn't
me,
know that.
yeah, so for me like that was like a really big turning point like in my life as far as like no longer having my identity in being an athlete and kind of feeling really lost and having an identity crisis and being, you know, super depressed and not knowing what's going on and why things are happening. And I feel like that really caused me to start looking at having a relationship with God because everything else I was turning to was just leaving me really, really hurt and broken. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So that's kind of where that's kind of why it started around the same times, like from my perspective.
But you?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that a lot of it has to do with like who you're hanging out with, what you're doing on the weekends, things like that. So like for Amy and I, you know, freshman, sophomore year, we were, you know, not doing good things. Like we were doing whatever we wanted. And like,
Yeah.
yes, like my faith is actually like relatively new. Just because I didn't grow up in it like Amy did. I did and I didn't. So I grew up in a Catholic household, but my mom married into a Greek Orthodox family. And so that's what we went to sometimes. We would go like maybe for a baptism or for Easter, you know, we'd go to the Greek Orthodox church.
Very like holiday church.
Yes, like
Time
only
of thing.
sometimes like when we, you know, had to dress up, put an appearance, whatever. So that's what kind of like church looked like for me, and like to me that didn't even have a relationship with God at all. Like it was just like church. So it was very different. And then when I came here, everybody was going to church, and so I went. That wasn't like I didn't really have like everybody was going, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll go. But eventually, like over time, I started to learn more and obviously mature and hang out with the right people, and you know, eventually it turned into like this awesome relationship with God.
And And in college, I hear so many people talk about like that's when I made my faith like personal, and I feel like that's like how it goes like for most people, because here like it's you making your choice to do whatever you want. And freshman year, for the majority of people that I talk to, is like I'm doing whatever I want. Like at like the first like real freedom, like you're leaving away from home, and having like that choice, it's so important. And like people don't really like think of that. They just come here like, yeah, like you guys, like, yeah, I'm gonna go to church because like everyone's going. That's how it starts. Thank God. But for some people, they're like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Even though in this school that we're at, everyone talks about church all the time. So it's very easy for people to be immersed in that, and that's so good. But for other people, like, they just don't care.
And like for me, I didn't have a group of people telling me like, hey, let's go to church. I would have never gone. Like I would have never been like, okay, let's go to church, because like that wasn't something I did. So for sure, this school helped, you know, kind of influence.
And how like we can influence people so much and we don't even like realize it. Like one word I would say sometimes is gonna stick with them, and it happened so many times to me. Like I'm just having a conversation with someone, and like months later, they're like, yeah, you told me this once. And like it stuck to me. I'm like, I don't even remember this conversation. Like I'm glad like whatever I said helped you in some way, but like I don't even know what I said. So that is so cool to me. And how did you guys find out about like Cumberland's? Because you're from very far away. And I feel like, how was the recruiting process? Because I'm very curious. Because for tennis, international tennis is a way. But like for people in America, I genuinely don't really know how that happens.
I mean, it's different for everyone. So.
True.
For like me, it was just at like I went to an ID camp in North Carolina. So my club team like came out here first.
That's cool.
And so he saw me play, gave me his card. You get like a business card, and eventually I emailed him. I was emailing a bunch of schools at the time just to kind of see where I wanted to go, and I emailed him just because my mom wanted me to, and they invited me out to come visit, and my mom was like, Taylor, like, let's go. I really didn't want to, but she was like, let's just go, like, well, I'll buy the flight, like, it'll be fine, we can go check it out, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. I came, I loved it, and that's kind of how it started. So then I came here and I got a scholarship and all that stuff. So.
You love like the program or like something else about
both.
School?
The school was beautiful. Like
really
I was like,
is.
oh my gosh, like this is a small school, but it's so beautiful. And then also just like the welcoming I felt from like the staff was really nice. Like and the girls, all of the girls were super, super nice too. So it was just something that I really felt like I needed to go here. So
that's cool.
So like for me, I knew of Cumberland's because my mom went here. So like it was very familiar with me. But part of the reason, like because she went here, I kind of didn't want to go here because I was like, oh, I want to do my own thing. I want to have my own path. Like so I looked here and I came to ID camps and I kind of was like, yeah, like this isn't for me. Like this isn't where I want to be. And then I continued to look and I committed to a different school, University of Findlay, which is in Northern Ohio. It's like a Division II school. And like a week and a half like before I signed, like officially signed there, I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't know if I want to go here. Like I'm having serious doubts.
Like a week before?
Yes, like a week before I signed. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna look at Cumberland's one more time. And like it was really random because there was a lot of other schools I had like contact with that I could have looked at, and like for some reason I was like, well, I'm gonna just look at Cumberland's again. Like which is funny because I already like was like, no, I'm not going there. So then I emailed my coach, Hamilton, and was like, hey, is there any way like I can come practice with you guys? Like, because I needed something quick. Because like, I was like, I signed next week. So I went up and practiced. He gave me an offer like the next day.
That's
and
crazy.
then I was like, okay, I'm going here. And I was kind of like even when I was making the decision, I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, I don't know why I'm switching schools. And like now I realize like even driving down here for like when I was moving in my freshman year, I was like crying because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, like why I'm here, why I'm coming here. Like this was very like, you know, random for me. But like now, like as throughout my freshman year, I like slowly started to realize like this was definitely God, and like this is where I was supposed to be the whole time. And he
That's
luckily
so cool.
like those randoms like, why am I choosing this school, is like him redirecting me, because I don't think I would have found or had the relationship I had with God had I gone to the other school. So it's just cool to see how like God knows what he's doing all along, and sometimes when you're questioning like what's going on, like he is in control that whole time. So
And it's so
That was
hard
cool.
because sometimes we don't even understand. Like you had no
Yeah.
clue.
Like I was crying.
Like that could possibly
I
be
was, like,
God helping you out.
Moving in crying, like, why am I here? And now I'm like coming back for a 5th year and I'm like, oh, I
That's
love it here.
funny. True. How did you guys meet? Like I really don't know this story. Obviously it's soccer, but like
Yeah.
how was it?
We had like a summer camp where like all the people were recruited and like committed or they're like required to go to.
Oh.
So we met all the freshmen, like the freshman girls coming in our class, and all of us kind of like became close.
Mhm.
But then I think like me and Taylor started to realize like we were like very similar.
Yeah, we had a lot of similar interests.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we got closer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And did you guys like room together freshman year or something?
Mm-mm. No, we were different. I had like a completely random roommate, not on the soccer team or anything.
Mhm.
She was with Shannon Dillo. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember.
really?
I
Yeah.
was a Shannon Dillon.
Wow. That's funny.
But then after that, like we've roomed together since sophomore year.
Mhm.
So
That's what I thought. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they like roomed together freshman.
Yeah.
And that's how like they became like very close friends, or like it was like
Mhm.
something else. And something very cool, because if you don't know them, they're best friends, and they also lead a Bible study together. So I want to know like what made you guys like decide to, like start leading the Bible study for the soccer girls? Because basically like the girls, their team, they lead the Bible study for them. So what are some like thoughts that you guys had before starting it, or like some challenges as well? Some things like were not as easy as you thought it would be, or some things that were easier than you thought it would be.
So our soccer team has a lot of foreign people on it, and a lot of the Spanish girls don't really believe in God, or they don't know about God, and they've never really grown up in that way.
Yeah.
So for us, like for me especially, like knowing where I was and like how God has transformed my life, like I want them to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And so like I think that was like one of the biggest reasons why I started like or wanted to start a Bible study, was just to get them to know who God is, what God does to you, what like things like that, just because they've never experienced it.
That's cool.
So.
Yeah.
I think like for me like I do believe that like a lot of people come here and there's like a stigma with like religion and Christianity and stuff, and like it was important for me to like be able to talk to girls who like trust me and I have a relationship with, to kind of show them like this is how I experience like my relationship with God, and like you may have heard this, you may have heard this, and like to me it's a relationship of love, and like just kind of like introducing that to them, because I know sometimes like they are introduced to it in like different ways, you know what I mean? And yeah, so and then like as far as like challenges with it, I think for me like sometimes I think about my relationship with God and how long it took me to actually get it. And I'm like, how can I help them get it when it took me years to get it? You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm like, and I know like God can do anything, you know what I mean? But sometimes like after I'm done like talking about God, I'm like, did anything I say like resonate with it? You know what I mean? Like
I know exactly what you
because
mean.
I've been there where people have talked and I just listen to them and I'm like, okay, cool. But nothing, like, you know what I mean? So, like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure, not pressure, but just, like, I want so badly for them to be able to experience what we experience that sometimes I'm, like, overthinking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
True. Go.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I was just going to say, too, like, with time, like, I know, like, it's really hard to get people to take time out of their day to come learn about something that they don't believe in.
True.
And so I think that, like, trying to get people to come when they don't, like, want to is really tough. But something that I kind of realized, like, throughout doing this experience is that they love us, like, Amy and I, and so, like, they're going to come because they love us.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like that's, like, the biggest thing to kind of draw towards is, like, you know, they love you, so they're going to listen to you. And I think that, like, with what you were saying is, like, yeah, it's hard, but also, like, anything can happen from, like, the smallest conversation. So.
This is the hardest part for me, is, like, I would say judging, like, is the judging feeling of, like, because we don't know what goes on inside someone's heart, inside someone's mind. God knows, and He's able to do everything. But, like, from the outside, I look at people like, how can they, like, believe that? You know, like, are they really believing in it? Like, it's so hard because sometimes you're saying everything that you believe in, and you're, like, showing it to people. But if the Holy Spirit doesn't show it to them, they won't believe it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's so hard, like, from an outside perspective of, like, looking at people and talking to people and sharing your love with people. to like really know if they're really understanding what you mean.
Right.
It takes a
Yeah.
lot of courage and patience. Patience is the worst.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
so hard.
100%. Yeah, especially because they want to see it. They want
Yes.
like a physical like evidence of like why do you believe this? And like
Which-
sometimes it's hard and like there is physical evidence, but it's also
Mhm.
like a lot of it is just putting faith and trust in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense as to like, you know, if I didn't believe something either and somebody was telling me, like I would want physical evidence as well,
Yeah.
as be like back it up. And like sometimes it's hard because like a lot of times we back it up with scripture, but like what if they don't believe in the Bible?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like it's hard. So that's where I feel like it's important where it comes into like the relationship. Like maybe you don't believe in the Bible, but like will you believe me when I'm
Mhm.
saying that this is how I felt and this is how I am now,
Right.
and like this is how I was, but now I get to experience this. Like that's where when they don't necessarily believe those things, where it's like the relationship with that person becomes like super important because like
Right.
why would I lie about it? You know,
Mhm.
I have nothing to gain from telling you.
True.
You know,
Mhm.
like
Right.
so.
Yeah, so something that obviously there are different views about this, but I feel like building a relationship with people first
Mhm.
and like showing them daily how it is to live for Christ, and then starting to talk to them like physically about like reading a Bible and reading to them.
Mhm.
Most of the time I've seen that it's more effective. Obviously there are cases and cases, like it can happen like someone just randomly speaks about Jesus to you
Yeah.
and you're gonna believe it, like
Yeah.
but like usually I feel like it takes time and a lot of love. Like
Yeah.
they don't love God, they
Yeah.
don't know God,
Yeah.
but they're going there because of you, because you
Right.
make it fun,
Right.
because everyone's going like on a team, so like
Mhm.
it's fun to be around people.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how my like journey with Christ started, was
Yeah.
just following what everyone else was doing, like doing because my friends were going, so and I love them, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
go. So
Like you want to hang out with them, you want to do what they're doing.
exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. And what year did you guys start? Was it this year? Did you guys started the Bible study?
This past year, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like the last semester.
Mhm.
That's cool. And how did you get girls to start going to it?
A
You
lot
just
of-
like asked like, hey, we're gonna do this.
So actually, one of the biggest reasons why people like one, they loved us, so
Yeah.
they would come because we were like, hey, come, like, and they were like, okay. And then another reason is because sometimes we'd bring like snacks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
food.
Cookies. They were like, oh, yeah, I'll come get a cookie, sure.
Free cookie.
Yes.
Yay.
Well, and like this year we were like extremely blessed to have a team that like generally like they love being around each other.
Mhm.
You
That's
know,
cool.
so like
It makes
if
a lot
there's
of
any
difference.
type of thing, like they'll be there
Right.
because they enjoy each other's company.
Right.
You know, if they're like, "What are you doing tonight?" "Oh, we're going to Taylor and Amy's for Bible study." I was like,
That's
"Okay,
cool.
I'll come." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Very
so
true.
that's something that we haven't had in the past with the teams, like with
Mhm.
our team. Like we had a lot of cliques
That's
in the
cool.
past, and now this year it's pretty like, you know, one unit, which has been really nice as
I've
far
noticed
as
that,
getting
too.
people to come. Yeah.
From like last year, because that was the only year that I was here.
Yeah.
But, like from last year to this year, like it changed like a lot, and so many teams have been like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like other teams, obviously, they're not as close, but the soccer team, I've noticed a difference.
Yeah.
And like, what is one tip or like a few tips? I don't know, that you can give to people to like would like to start one, because it's a challenge. Like it takes some courage to start a Bible
100%.
study. So what are some like tips or like advice that you can give someone that like is thinking about it?
I would just say like to continue to build your relationships like outside of it, just to kind of, you know, give them an idea of what like your life is like and where you come from, just and be completely honest with people. And that's like one of the biggest things I would say is to build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, like just using like whatever like your spiritual gift is, like
That's
using
cool.
that to their advantage. Like for instance, like I love hosting. Like that's something I love doing. It's something Taylor loves doing. So like it was very easy to be like, yes, let's host this at our house, and we'd make it all homey. We're gonna have muffins.
That's cool.
You know, and that's something that we know, like that's how people feel loved on. Like, and especially like we were blessed to have an apartment this year that everybody
True.
else is in dorms. So, like we have an apartment, so we're gonna, you know, you can come to our
Welcome
living
our
room.
house.
We're gonna have food.
It's different.
It's different. So like just creating, like using your spiritual gifts to just create an atmosphere where they'd want to be there is like
Yeah.
super important as well. So
That's cool. And like as you guys mentioned before, there's a lot of people from all around the world, especially from like Europe in y'all's team. So how was it like the culture shock for you guys? Because like you guys played soccer, but, like it was only with American people, and like coming here and playing with people from all over the world. What are some things that, like were different for you guys?
Well, for me, it was interesting because I grew up. So I'm from California, which is really close to the Mexican border.
Okay,
So
true.
I actually played with a lot of people that were either from Mexico or had parents that were from
That's
Mexico.
cool. I didn't know that.
So like for me, it was a little bit not as like shocking. I feel like to somebody who maybe has never experienced that before, but it definitely was really cool meeting people from like not just like Spanish speaking countries, but like Europe. So like, well, I guess Spain is in Europe, but like the Netherlands or like Germany, or you know, meeting people like that because I've never really talked to them. And like, I don't know, it was just, I don't think there was anything that like was like culturally shocking to me. I just found it fascinating.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's been cool to like coming in and like we came in as freshmen, and like as a freshman you're not as mature and like you don't know as much, and like I do feel like my freshman year like the American freshmen clicked and then like the Spanish girls clicked. It's been cool over the years to like watch those cliques kind of like slip away, you know?
That's cool.
Where like it's no longer, you know, American Spaniards. It's like everybody with everybody, you know? So like
That's cool.
I do think to begin with like it was hard, especially like for me because I came in as a forward and a lot of the Spaniards were forwards and they had a different playing style than me. So like they were really good with playing with each other, and then I'd be like, I was like,
True.
Yeah.
For
you know,
soccer,
like,
that
how
changes
do I-
a lot.
Yeah, because like I was very much like I will take the ball and sprint and like be physical and then cross it in, but they're very like pass.
True.
And I was like
from Brazil,
so
like,
like
something
it
like
seemed
that.
like they knew what they were gonna do, but I never knew what they were gonna do.
That's
so I was
funny.
Like, I'd be like making a run, and then they would pass at each other. I'm like, okay, so I come back. You know what I mean? So it's definitely as you experience it
That's
more.
cool.
It's nice to like learn of their playing styles because it's much, and their playing style makes a lot of sense. I just realized that. So it's been cool to like just like see how their playing style like fits in with our playing style on the team. So I really enjoy it. Like and it's cool that we have like friends for life from a bunch of different countries.
It is
you know, like
cool.
there's
Yeah.
girls who don't get to do that, you know.
Yeah, true.
So
That's
like
one of the things that I like the most about like sports in college. That you meet people from everywhere. Like I'm literally here.
yeah, I know.
Right.
It's so cool. I love it a lot. And like between like talking about God with people from other countries and people from America, because like while you guys been here, obviously you've talked to people like both Americans from outside of America. So what are some differences? Obviously it's the same gospel, the same spirit, but culture makes a difference. So for you guys, have you felt like any difference on that?
For like the girls.
Like in general, like talking to people like
Oh.
that are not like Americans, like what are some differences like that you
I
felt
think
like
for a
talking
lot
to
of
people?
people, it's like it's not necessarily relationship based, and that was how it was for me like before coming here too. So I kind of understand them in a way, but they're just kind of like I know a lot of people that are like, yeah, we go to church, but it's super boring.
Yeah,
And
the
it's like
boring word.
traditional. Yeah, so like they have like
True.
a very traditional type of worship, I guess. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's what their like vision of God looks like.
Yeah.
Is boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like this isn't even like in other cultures, but just like depends on like what type of church you grow up into. But like
True.
a lot of churches are like more traditional, like they do things as like a tradition, not as like a like Taylor was saying, like relationship with God. Like yeah, like we don't do this or we do this, or like you know we go on Sundays, and like very much just kind of like a checklist. And I feel like that's what almost like harms people's initial want to get a relationship
Yeah.
with God, because they see it as like, well, I'm gonna have to do this, and I'm gonna have to do this, and I'm gonna have to do
A
this.
set of rules.
Yes, and that scares people away, I guess, rather than building the relationship and then wanting to do those
Yeah.
things, you know. Because like that's kind of like why it took me a long time too, because like coming in as a freshman, as we talked about, like you want to do whatever you want. That's where
Yeah.
I was. I want to do what I wanted. So I was like, I had my toe in the water with like, yeah, I'll go to church on Sundays, but you know, I'm gonna go drink at this party,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go, you know, do whatever I want, and then I'll come on Sundays and you know regret it and worship,
Yeah.
but then the next day I'm gonna do it again, like that type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like growing up in Brazil is a Catholic country, and obviously we believe in the same God, but the way we worship God is way different. And like most people around me they were not like from my church, they didn't have like a relationship at all. And it's kind of like around here, like everyone knows about God, like they know like that God exists, you know, or something like God exists, but they don't care, like they literally don't care. Like I've heard so many people tell me like I don't feel the need for God in my life, and they really don't. They don't. It's like just like some force like they're so far away that they don't feel the need for the like to have a relationship with God. And it makes me so sad to hear that, because it's so good. It's like the best thing in the world that could happen to you. And what is some way that you guys can give grace to your teammates daily? Because we are together like with our teammates every single day, and we don't agree with everything. So what are some ways that you guys can like practice giving grace to your teammates daily?
I would just say be patient. Like, you know, if they tell you something, you could say, you know, and do it kindly. Tell them how you feel. Like, that's something cool. that I've kind of been like, well, maybe you shouldn't do this because, you know, this is what I believe. Or, I mean, you can obviously do what you want, but this is how I believe and this is what I think is right. And oftentimes, like, I think that especially holding a leadership position on our team, being seniors, that a lot of, like, the younger girls look up to us.
True.
And so I think that just by like leading by example too. So like, this is what I believe, this is how I do it. You know, not necessarily like forcing them to do anything, but just, you know, saying this is what I believe, this is, and they'll eventually hopefully come to God, and hopefully God works in them too. So yeah, that's cool. Just what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. Just like you can't like force things on them that they don't believe, you know what I mean? So kind of just like showing them your lifestyle versus like that necessarily like pushing it on them, but like also just allowing them to understand why you do things the way you do, you know, or like stuff like that, because you know I think that's a big indicator at like a relationship with God is like actions, you know. So just putting yourself like making a what am I trying to say?
Distinctive?
Yeah, like
I don't know.
You aren't gonna do all the same things they do, and you're not gonna approach things the same way they do. And like there's a reason for that, you know what I mean? But like never like judging them in that aspect, but more of just like being like, yeah, this is like what I do, and it's not like you're wrong, but more of just like I do this because of this, you know? Because like I never want to make them feel like I'm like judging them, but only that there's love there, and that like the reason why like I want these things for them is because I love them, not because I think I'm better than them, because that's not the case, you know, like I really don't, you know. So and that's also something I feel like sometimes people who don't know God, like so they might get the idea that Christians think that they're better than them.
True. Which, I feel like so many people have this idea.
Which is puts a bad name on Christians, and like I just don't want to go about it in a way where they think I'm better than them, you know, or that like I'm superior because I don't do these things and I don't do these things, you know, because I used to, you know, like I can't judge them because I used to do it too. So.
Right. Well, and like you can't really compare sin too, so there's still things that like we all struggle with, and like maybe I'm not, you know, out drinking every night, but am I being like completely honest and open in my heart? Like there's things obviously we all struggle with. So you know, for me to compare my life to their life is not fair. Like the only real judge is God. And so I think that's important to like remind ourselves and to humble ourselves and be like, you know what, our life is not like, we are not better than them in any way. And like, I don't know, we were born sinners, and you know, for that reason I'm so thankful that we have like Jesus dying on the cross. But yeah, I just think that, you know, being humble in that way and like being like loving on them the most you can. So.
And what are some growth points that you've seen on your team, like since the beginning of the year to now? Because if you guys don't know, we have like 1 week left of class. We have 1 week left of class, and then we're over. It's summer. So what are some points of growth that you guys have seen?
I mean, like there's just girls like asking questions, which is like a really big start, you know, like that's a really important step to just getting to know God, and like the fact that they're even curious is like huge. And also just like girls who are, you know, come to church with us on a regular basis now, just because, you know, they enjoy it and they want to know more about it. I'm excited also for next year because we're already talking about like our Bible study for next year.
That's so cool.
So just stuff like that, and like something we do on our team every week is like testimonies or devotionals. It just depends. And I have noticed that like usually after those is when people start asking more questions, or it's just an area where we can like just talk about our faith and how it relates to like our life and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes, like I said, like just them hearing about like it as a relationship side point and not of like a I do this, and this, but this is like, oh, this is how I feel God in my life has been like more impactful than just like this is what the Bible says and you need to do this and this and this, you know. So
When I think something that also helps having a coach that fully supports it.
Yeah,
So
true.
like he is also a really huge influence on the girls just because, you know, they look up to him. He's our coach and you know, he's obviously a man of power, and having him love on them just as way like that God would is like really, really beneficial. And I think that him having that influence and encouraging people to, you know, talk about faith in the soccer setting has opened a lot of opportunities for us outside of soccer to talk about it, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
So like making it comfortable in both in the sport and outside of it has
Yeah.
been really like a big area of growth. I think that before people maybe were a little bit nervous to talk about it just because they didn't want to be stuck talking about it for too long, or you know, they didn't want to waste their time. But now I feel like because of how it's been brought about, like on, like she said, on the Friday meetings when we have like the devotional testimony, it's made a platform for people to talk about it.
Yeah.
Or like
so
a
cool.
open space. So
and even like kind of like she's saying, like our coach is really good about just like finding little ways where like God can be like glorified, like on Valentine's Day, like we walked in and there was like roses, and each rose had like a Bible verse about being loved. And then like even on Easter, like, or Good Friday, there was like a verse about like,
That's cool.
you know, God, just like little things that you'll just read, and then just like kind of a reminder, even if you don't believe it, like, you know, he cares enough to like go around and do that stuff, you know. So, and he's very passionate about it, which I also think like can kind of be like, oh, like if he's this passionate about it, you know, like I'm a little curious.
Yeah,
So-
true.
And it's been also nice because
That's
like even like from us, like we're younger, like less mature Christians.
Yeah.
Not less, but you know what I mean, like
Still, yeah.
newer. And like even when we're giving devotions, it's interesting to hear him talk about it, like add things to it, because I'm like, oh, like
yeah.
I
didn't
didn't
know that.
know that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like,
Like-
yeah, true. I didn't
Yeah.
remember that.
So it's
That's
not
cool.
only good for like non-Christians, but even for like me and Taylor
Yeah.
and like other people on the team who believe in God, because like I learn more stuff from him every single day. So
That's so cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. And I know, and I feel comfortable knowing that I can go to him and ask him questions and like, how should I go about this, or you know, things like that. So it's just
Coaches
nice.
have a lot of influence on the team. Come like from the tennis team to the track team, which like Coach Stan, like he's like a good person, obviously, but he doesn't have a relationship with God at all. So coming from a team in which like a coach never ever approached anything about God to a coach that is a head coach that gives like devotions to us like every single Wednesday on our team meetings. You know, it's like completely different. And like this just makes me and obviously other people on the team more comfortable to share the gospel or talk about things like that. Like every single time before a race, all the people that are racing with us, we go and pray. But if I try to do that on the tennis team, everyone will look at me like, "What? Why are you doing that?"
Yeah.
You know. So it was a challenge. Obviously, there are other challenges on the track team that I didn't have on the tennis team for many different reasons. But the faith part, for sure, was way better. Like comparing last semester to this semester, just like how coaches can have like the influence on us. Like we don't think about it, but they do.
100%.
Like so much.
Yeah, just creating an open environment. Not
Yeah.
like, I feel like, because like if you like go up to somebody like randomly without having any like preface, I feel like going up to somebody and being like, so y'all know God? Like that could be
Yeah.
intimidating.
Yes.
And they could be like, no, thank you.
Mhm.
But if your coach starts it, it's not that big a
Yes.
deal. I don't know.
Because they don't have a choice but to listen to what the coach is
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
Right, people
Well,
of higher authority.
And even just like leaders on the team, like coming in my freshman
True.
year, like the leaders on my team weren't religious, and like they didn't have a relationship with God. So like, you know, coming in as a freshman, you usually follow, you know, the actions and thoughts
True.
of them. And like the culture on this team has completely changed from my freshman
That's
year to
so cool.
now, to where like, you know, me and Taylor and like other people on the team, like who are like more leaders, like we are more open about like our relationship with God, and our actions align with our words. And I feel like that's more encouraging for like freshmen who come in, because they don't, like, rather than feeling like you have to do these bad things to fit in, now it's a culture of where like
That's so
you have
cool.
to do like, not you have to do this or that, but like where
It's
you
cool
feel
to
more
do good
comfortable
things. Mhm.
not doing those things for the not
That's
only
so
the
cool.
sake of like God, but like just for the culture of the team, like and what we want to achieve, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's nice because since our coach is like, you know, a Christian and stuff, a lot of our team like goals and stuff, you know, are like morally like obviously like aligned with that.
Mhm.
So it's just nice.
That's so cool. Yeah, well, girls, thank you so much
Of
for
course.
joining me on the
having
podcast.
us.
Thanks
This
for
was
having us.
fun.
We love
Yes.
to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. keep going. But
So yeah, well, thank you so much.
Of course.
Seriously. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you could be blessed by it. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.